So we're hearing these stories how, Lucifer fought for the devil, Satan fought for equal rights, and and standing up for people, and how, God is so restrictive,
Right.
and the devil will just give you anything, right? And so he will,
Right.
so
right.
he will. That's his main goal.
Yeah.
Always to lead you to destruction, always
right.
to lead you away from a loving God.
Well, hey there, you're watching What Was That About? Thank you for joining us for today's episode. I hope you're doing well. We've had a great start to this year. I am with Dr. Tony Soldano. How you doing, Pastor?
Did you forget my name there for a second?
No,
You stumbled.
I didn't.
Okay.
Hey, listen, we are pastors at a church in Brampton, Canada. If you're new to our channel or our podcast, we are so appreciative of the fact that you're watching, you joined in. Hey, what have you been watching lately? You been watching any shows?
I only watch sports, man.
You only watch sports?
Pretty much.
That's true, actually.
Yeah.
And then a movie here and there.
And then when you make me.
There's a new show, When I Make You. Wow. There's a new show, and it is...
Stupid.
It's stupid. It's on Prime. Amazon Studios has released this with a young director, I think 31 years old. And it is in the top 10 shows in Canada on Prime. And it has to do really with, again, we've talked about this in previous episodes, but again, it has to do with painting the devil in a good light and making God the enemy. And so it's called Hazbin Hotel. It's rated R. It's an adult cartoon show.
Right.
But just crazy stuff.
It's a bombardment, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's constant messaging.
Right.
It is it's very systematic in their approach. It is a clear agenda.
Yeah.
Whether it's in a show, whether it's in propaganda, after school programs, it is just a continuous onslaught of deception and lies. I mean, the program has to do with what this young girl named Lilith, is that her name? And
well, I think
in the program.
Yeah, they talk about the main character of it. I think is the devil's daughter. She's the princess of hell.
Okay.
She runs a hotel and basically is trying to redeem demons because God, who is evil, kicked them out.
Right.
With Lucifer.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're hearing these stories how Lucifer fought for the devil, Satan fought for equal rights, and and standing up for people, and how God is so restrictive,
right.
and the devil will just give you anything, right? And so he will,
right?
so
right.
he will. That's his main goal.
Yeah.
Always to lead you to destruction, always to lead you away from a loving God. But now he's not a loving God. He's this punishing God. He's restrictive.
Yeah.
He's evil, and Satan is good.
Right.
Satan is going to give you what God never wanted to give you.
Yeah. Which sounds good.
Yeah.
But you take it to its extreme, and its end is complete destruction and disaster.
Yeah. But what the story doesn't tell you is that Eden, which was the paradise that God created, was a perfect place.
That's right.
It was a perfect place. There was no death, no discrimination, no evil, no darkness of any kind. Obviously, the snake.
Yeah.
And by the way, the first person that presented this scenario was a snake. And now he's grown into a dragon.
Yeah.
But it's amazing how he's twisting it. But bro, to me, it's like, man, it's in the top 10. People just love to believe a lie.
Yeah.
People just love to believe distortion.
Yeah.
They don't want to go to the truth. They don't want to find out, hey,
Right.
what does the Bible have to say about this? They want to believe it. They want to believe it because, Jesus said people love the darkness.
Right. Yeah. Now some of the backstory, I think, to this whole thing is comes from pagan myths
Right.
that came several hundred years after the Bible that retell the story of the garden, Adam and Eve. That Eve
Right.
wasn't actually Adam's first wife; it was a woman named Lilith, and all sorts of things, happen, and
Right.
they break up. And I think Lucifer ends up with Lilith, and all sorts of things, crazy stuff happens. And so there's all this, all these lies that are fumed into this thing. And you're right. People love to believe these lies. But I think about it, it's like, how do you sit there? Like, it's the top 10 show, right?
Wow.
I think it's number 4 in Canada. It's number 2 in America. And you basically are entertained by the devil.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And I think one of the easiest ways to like desensitize people
Right.
to such an important topic
Right.
of the devil, hell, right, is to turn it into a comedy show. Yeah, let's just laugh at this whole thing as if it were some big joke. God is the bad guy. Look at this. And so now you're desensitized even to the reality that the Bible portrays of heaven and hell, that God is good, God is just, and that the devil is not. And so heaven and hell cannot coexist. One day, they will separate. And it's like you turn into a big joke, and of course people are desensitized.
Yeah. And that's the devil's dream, right, bro?
Yeah.
Like, his dream is to be celebrated, to be worshipped, to be seen in a light that honors him.
That's right.
Rather than paints him the way he is. What did Jesus say about him? He's a murderer. He's a thief. He's a liar.
Right. Yeah.
Right. That's not only his job description. That's his character. He's rebellious.
Yeah.
He is everything dark.
Right.
Everything diabolical that you can think of on the face of the earth. And yet his whole dream has been, no, look at me and worship me and look at the darkness, you would have to say, that's in the heart of people. Number one, to concoct such a thing.
I was
right?
just thinking that,
Because here's the reality. You must have some sense of truth in order to distort it to this level. Like, there had to be some sort of research about, okay, here's what is truth, here's what's believed to be true and accepted, and here's the distortion that we're going to put on it. Like, what does that tell you about the individuals that write this and create it? Not only the people that watch it, but this is, you mentioned the word desensitization, and I believe this is what we're coming to. This is what Antichrist needs to come into, a world that not only receives him, but accepts him and worships him, not just tolerates him. Right? He needs to come to a place where he will be seen, Antichrist, as the answer, as the Messiah that we want, not the Messiah that heaven sent, the Messiah that we want. It's their creation. Right?
That's right. Yeah, it's so true. And I think part of it is it's people's inner rejection of God, right, is what they have put on display. And that's what, even if you study art throughout history, even modern day, if you study even art of atheists, and there's that mockery of God, and even the invitation of like evil things and demonic things, it all comes from a heart that rejects God. And so they literally produce out of their rejection, out of their evil, right? And so it's like, I believe this lie. And so it's easier for me to then reject God, or tell myself it's okay for rejecting God. If I can turn it into something.
And so the main character is what, the princess of hell?
The princess of hell.
And so this is Satan's daughter.
Yes.
Which most likely is probably the spirit of Jezebel, right? That is the predominant, quote unquote, female demonic version. We find that spirit in the Old Testament and in the New Testament, different spirits, but they have interesting similarities to them. Jesus pronounces a very harsh judgment over those that are involved, and there's even a sexualization to the Jezebel of the New Testament. So there's a sexualization to her. There's a prophetic side to her. There's a religious side to her. So if anything, this Lilith has to be then the spirit of Jezebel that has been remarketed if you will. But that alone, like when you hear about the princess of hell, wouldn't you want to run from that?
Right.
Wouldn't you want to say, hey, I don't want anything to do with that? But I want you to notice, and some people are not going to like this, and by the way, we're not anti-women in any way, but this is the era of Eve. Paul tells us that Eve was deceived. Adam was not. So we know that Adam willfully sinned. Eve was deceived. And whether it's, radical feminism, you look at Hollywood and how they are portraying women either, incredibly masculine.
Right.
They're the heroes of these, movies now. They can beat up men. They can do anything men can do. And here again, it's all to distort the image of God. It's all to distort what God has created. And then, of course, then we go into the whole thing about, women wanting to be men wanting to be women. And it's not isolated, Pastor Moses.
Right.
This stuff is all connected.
Yeah.
It's all part of the agenda. It's all part of the itinerary. It's the same message. It's a hatred for God. It's a rebellion against God. And it's this idea that we will not have any part of his image.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line of it.
Yeah.
That's the root of it.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. That is the root of it.
Yeah.
For sure.
And so, listen, I know it's a cartoon, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes they are deemed to be, I don't know, kid related, maybe
Right.
less dangerous. I'm telling
Yeah.
you, there are spirits behind this thing. There are forces. There are powers. Don't open up your life. Don't open up your mind, your ears, your eyes to this thing. We're here to expose it, to
That's
just
right.
say, this is an innocent. This is not child's play.
Yeah, I mean, even the description of it is
you
this adult animated series.
It's rated R.
It's rated R for
So-
sexual content, for profanity, the rest of it.
And there you
Alcohol
go.
use, foul language, sexual content, smoking, violence, substance use.
And there you go. That
Yeah.
is the spirit that wants to draw you into, into all these things. Like,
Yeah.
and you know what? They tell you right there. I guess it's like, when they say the cigarettes will cause cancer and people still puff away. So
Right.
we're here to expose these things.
Yeah.
We're here to warn people.
Yep.
And what people do with it is up to them. But these are dangerous things. These things are birthed in
Yeah.
hell.
Yeah.
But I guess people just don't care anymore, Pastor Moses.
For sure. For sure. And I think even for our listeners and our viewers, I think we have to understand the context of the culture that we're living in. That we live amongst people that aren't just, hey, I don't believe in God. They, in their heart, they reject God.
Yes.
Right? And so you have to be aware of that, even in terms of your day-to-day living. That these are the kinds of people that you might be surrounded with, that you might be going to work with. And so may God give you wisdom, may God give you discernment, even in those places and in those conversations to be the light that he has called you to be.
Yeah, and stay away from it.
Yeah.
Particularly, maybe we're not even addressing strong Christians, but
Right,
nominal
yeah.
Christians,
For sure.
people that, they're on both sides of the fence, they dibble, they dabble.
Yeah.
That's how you get snared. That's how you get trapped. And
For sure.
and you come under deception, you come under lies, you get drawn into something that's more powerful than you.
Yeah, well said. Hey, well, listen, thank you for joining us for today's episode. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe, like this video, share it with a couple people, but comment below. What are your thoughts on this whole thing, this show, the people who produced this show, and what it says maybe about even the days and the times that we live in? We love and appreciate your support.
Yeah.
Thank you for this conversation, Pastor.
Thank you, sir.
We'll see you next time. God bless.